Did you guys just see what I just saw? Time to get into episode 2, baby. How's it going, my fellow Titans? Welcome to my Titans Season 3, Episode 2 recap, review, and breakdown. Yes, today, if you weren't aware already, 3 episodes dropped at once. So my first episode is out, my first episode breakdown. Check that out if you haven't already. What are you doing here on Episode 2? But just in case you're wondering about my Episode 3 review, for that episode, with that ending, that review is coming tomorrow. Understandably, dropping 3 reviews in one day is quite a lot on the YouTube channel, so I'm going to try and space it out a bit. But how about this episode? Especially with that ending, probably a lot of you are thinking, oh wow, I didn't expect the reveal to happen that soon, but I've got a lot to say about that. But there is a bunch to talk about in this episode. As usual, we got the introduction of Scarecrow officially, some Titans crime fighting action once again, and I just am dying. I'm dying to hear what you guys thought of, not only about episode 1, leave me your thoughts on that video, but also this episode, episode 2. Red Hood. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, it's taken a lot of preparation to get these videos ready for you guys in advance, so I'd really appreciate a like if you are enjoying these reviews for the first 3 episodes of Titans. And of course, if you are brand new here, what are you doing? Subscribe for all kinds of breakdowns just like this. But we need to talk about that beginning of the episode. I mean, my god, I told you guys about comic book accuracy, whilst it also understandably deviates with the innovation that comes with adapting source material to the screen. But hey, when we're talking about source material accuracy, what could get better than this? Straight out of the Under the Red Hood movie, I told you guys, and you gathered this from the trailer anyway, and that is of course the Gotham criminal mob bosses all gathering, summoned by somebody. What is going on here? And I am shiting you not, this is straight out of the frick. Well, you guys know what I'm talking about. You're probably seeing it on screen right now. And I want to bring up something that I mentioned in my first episode review, that, you know, this is the thing. Like, remember the Red Hood story, cliche-wise, is about Red Hood wanted Batman to avenge him. But it's like, in this story, that's already happened now. Like, that's already happened. He kind of did avenge him. And now this story with Red Hood, still adapting this comic accuracy with this particular scene, its agenda is somewhat a little bit different. And here's another thing that I really enjoyed about this Under the Red Hood adaptation in this I thought this was a brilliant way to start off episode 2, by the way. What a way to steal and put the fans into this episode. I do commend them on portraying Red Hood as an intimidating villain. Like, you don't want like a little Jason Todd who's just got a mask on going around and then they just give him a gun and like he acts intimidating. No, you need to pull off a lot more than that. And Curran Walters, if I remember correctly, in an interview, he did state that he's put on over 20 pounds of muscle for this role. Like, he listened to the compliments, but also listened to the haters. Like, he wanted to do everything he could. And I really do feel like the way he comes across on screen is believable. And I do feel that he is owning that scene, and all of the mob bosses there are just thinking, well, crap, like, yeah, this guy, especially with the show of power, that guy trying to shoot Red Hood, but he just instantly, Wild West style, just gets to him first. It's such a show of intimidation. He did everything he was supposed to do in that first scene, through introducing that he, as Red Hood, can protect them. Batman is gone. He's flexing that he retired him, but like he didn't really, but you may as well own it if you can, when the mob bosses of Gotham don't know any better. Just overall, guys, all of them were absolutely baffled. They threw in their guns, and it was truly the introduction of Red Hood to Gotham. And now, this is when we pick up in Washington, where we see Hawk and Dove and what they're up to 3 months later. And that consists of Dove still being Dove. She went to Washington, but she allowed Hank to go with her. And Hank, instead of being Hawk and Dove as like that duo, he's opted in to be a cop on the bicycle. This was quite a funny intro, to be honest, seeing Hank with a tash like that. But obviously circumstances bring them back to Gotham, but I thought this was quite a funny way to just introduce both of them. I truly do believe this episode and next episode, with what you're going to see from Hawk and Dove, I feel like this, as I said in my non-spoiler review, it brings out the best of what I loved about them in season 1. But how about the GCPD? And this is actually something that Brenton Thwaites has said, and there's a lot of promo material coming out for Titans at the minute, even as I'm recording this video in advance, and he says that the GCPD is actually his favorite set. Now on the news, as soon as he walks in, we hear the man who terrorized Gotham for a generation, known only as the Joker, is is dead, brutally murdered by and this is where, like, it's hard to make out. I feel like at these points in the audio, you can't really make out the sound properly, but it's brutally murdered by something at Arkham Asylum. Prison staffers have unofficially speculated that something Batman, so everyone's kind of cottoning on to the fact that Batman had something to do with it by the looks of it on the news. And also V, who goes up to Dick Grayson as well, isn't too happy that he's there. I think she knows all about the history behind him and Barbara, which we slightly get a little bit more teasers into in this episode. But regardless, Barbara and Dick discuss what happened with Bruce last night at 11:20. His jet took off. It changed directions in midair, so nobody kind of knew where he touched down. I just take it as Bruce has gone to maybe one of the places that in this iteration he probably did a lot of training around the world, like in the source material that Batman does, and I'm guessing that he's gone to a particular, in my headcanon, person who will really help him reconcile with the fact that he killed the Joker. He really is going to take some time out. Obviously, we know Batman's going to come back in the long run, so we've got Tim Drake coming, but there's a lot of, like, self-reconciliation, introspection that I'm sure Bruce needs to do. And this is where he announces that he's going to bring in the Titans to Barbara. And the thing is, this is where the ball really starts rolling. This is what I mean as well in my first episode breakdown, spoiler breakdown, and how I was trying to explain why they did Red Hood quite off the bat like that, even before the main title sequence even rolled. They needed to get into it, get the ball rolling. It brings all the characters to Gotham. It's understandable as to why it happened, when it happened. And another crucial thing as well is the reveal. The reveal of Jason. There's a very specific reason as to why that's not a mystery, because I think some people's takeaway from these first two reviews, or should I say episodes, will be maybe it's a bit rushed because Death in the Family happens before the title sequence in episode 1, and then episode 2, the identity of Jason Todd that we're going to get to breaking down later is revealed to the Titans. So people might think it's going really, really fast, but that's more about the angle of everybody knows who Red Hood is. Like, I don't think, and I'm pretty sure I've heard Greg Walker, the showrunner, talk about this at some point, or someone or another. There's no point stringing along the fact that, oh, who's Red Hood? I mean, sure, that could be interesting seeing it from the characters' perspectives, but I think they wanted to tackle the identity of Jason this episode so they could get onto the more high stakes of, oh, we know it's Jason. We're not going to bore the audience in, oh, who's the mysterious Red Hood? We know all of that. Everyone's been there, done that in recent iterations. Now the fact that by the end of this episode everyone knows kind of what's going on, well, it just really propels that momentum forward in episode 3, 4, and so on, so forth. Speaking of Red Hood, this is when we get a little bit of a scene of him looking at like a tablet or something of the Titans coming to Gotham, because we have that news report saying, arriving from San Francisco, the Titans have been spotted in Gotham City just one day after the Joker has been murdered in Arkham Asylum. Now, there's only one thing that I wasn't a huge fan of. It's just like the identities. Now, I don't really have so much of an issue with Starfire just because, you know, it's the whole Clark Kent kind of Superman logic there. But Minka Kelly's Dove, as you saw that news report, they were just like, I guess they got off their private jet or something, and they were walking, and then they were going to make their way to Gotham City. But you saw the fact that Dove just wasn't like, I mean, you can see who she is. You can see that she's Dawn, and I just feel like there wasn't any concealment of identities here. It's not a big deal. Maybe that is more of a nitpick, but I know a lot of people had issues with them saying each other's names in previous seasons, and I do agree, like, if you're out in public like that, you don't really want that to happen. So here, when the Titans dropped down in Gotham, they were on the news and everyone could see who their civilian identities were, and usually that is a bit of a problem when you have an alter ego of a vigilante. Because, yeah, that's kind of illegal in of itself, taking the law into your own hands. So Dick Grayson welcomes everyone in the Batcave. We have Superboy freaking out. And I can't blame him, because who wouldn't want to see the Batsuit, the Batmobile? And I do wonder where that is. And the Batcave is bigger than what you think it is, even in this episode. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And the big thing is as well, like, and this is very relevant, he also points out that word is out in Gotham that Batman's gone. News like that travels fast, so we're going to have our hands full. And literally, they do. So we're back in the GCPD again, and you get that little glimpse also as well of the cops starting to put a dust sheet over the bat signal, since the bat is on a bit of a sabbatical for some time at least. So this is when Dick Grayson gets filled in about Anne Williams, a 34-year-old marketing consultant, and she hasn't said anything other than leaving a note, and that is, I want to talk to Nightwing. And already this is like, oh, I feel really giddy. It's just like all Gotham City stuff. It's just something that, like, it's just, you know, the Joker leaving a note behind for the Batman, or just, you know, the Riddler in the Batman trailer saying to the Batman. And in this moment, it's just like, oh, I want to talk to Nightwing. All of this is just really, I don't know, it's totally up my street with the way they're doing it. I'm always a sucker for like a good Gotham villain kind of plan, you know, because this is when we start to see the recording, the CCTV recording at the bank of this woman looking terrified. She puts the red hood over herself. They mention how Joker started his career wearing one. I'm glad they include stuff like this, because stuff like this is like ear candy for me, but it's just obviously accurate anyway, because, you know, traditionalist canon, not that the Joker always has a solidified origin story. In The Killing Joke, he reluctantly does that job as the Red Hood, falls into the chemical vat, becomes the Joker, and I'm glad that they're registering in this iteration that is how he started out, and therefore, obviously in this iteration, Joker beating Jason Todd to death, and then obviously him adapting the Red Hood title is because of the Joker, and that's another thing some people were worried about in this adaptation. Is Jason going to be called Red Hood because that was once Joker's name? It is indeed the case. Like, they are being very on the ball in this adaptation, as I keep repeating, no, while being innovative. But the big thing that I'm just really starting to, and at this point of when I was watching it, as per my notes, is, and I'm wondering if you guys are feeling the same thing, is how is Jason going to come back from this? If they ever do like a, you know, Red Hood and the Outlaws spin-off show, and they do indeed make him kind of the anti-hero, and he slowly comes back into the fold, because he's doing bad things. Like, this poor woman who is a mother, and this is what they establish, she's afraid for her child, runs away, but before she does that, drops something on the floor, and it blows up multiple civilians in the bank. Like, this is dark. We're kind of gushing over this again. You wanted Titans, you wanted comic accurate kind of stuff going on. Well, how about Nightwing in the freaking GCPD, in the interrogation room, with the commissioner behind the freaking glass window? Like, how much more superhero-y do you want to get? Dick Grayson's first thought in this moment is, you know, that red hood you're wearing, has it got anything to do with the Joker? Why do you want to talk to me? But this is when she pulls up her sleeve. He asks who did that to you, and it's like a little phone number on her arm. This is when the woman starts going nuts. I thought that this was a really well filmed and kind of creepy scene, because this is where she starts just, yeah, like the little veins start rippling throughout her, and Barbara calls the number, and this is when she really starts going nuts, starts foaming from the mouth, and because she's in such pain, she's like, make it stop, and she snaps her own neck. And I think a lot of people probably reacted how Barbara did in that moment. She was probably like, what the hell just happened? But I really, really, really like this scene. The only issue I have with it, if any issue at all, maybe this might be a nitpick for some people, is that surely when they brought her in, they would have noticed the phone number there, and they didn't need to bring in Nightwing to, like, obviously call that, you know, figure that out and call that number. But you could argue that she just did that to herself in the interrogation room. This whole scene and the aftermath of it, when you see shit like this on screen in Titans, and as I said, Dick Grayson in the interrogation room as Nightwing, it's just makes you feel like, Jesus, like, what kind of adventures were there with Batman in this DC world? Because just seeing Nightwing in the GCPD interrogation room makes you think, what would Ian Glenn's Batman be like in there, and what kind of things unfolded like this? It's just, the imagination is just going crazy. As far as like the Dick and Barbara romantic stuff, we're getting very drab moments of that at the minute. So there was that moment when Dick was looking at pictures in the GCPD. You could see Jim Gordon there, very evidently that's Jim, but then he moves those two little pictures and there was one hidden behind it, and that was of a photo of Dick and Barbara, and it looked to be some kind of gala or kind of ball or something. It basically looked like maybe they were a couple back when this photo was taken, and you can see Jim Gordon there in the corner, and it's just like a little, yeah, flashback and a little beginning nod to the history of these two characters. Moving onwards, this is what I mean by messed up. They find out that the toxicology came back and that she had a subdermal drug delivery system in her arm. So they're trying to figure out who this new player, this new Red Hood guy is, because he's like, you know, a bomb, pharmacology, it points to a science background. But this is when the bomb is dropped from Barbara to Dick Grayson, and how for cases like this, they've been using a consultant, a profiler, and they've got good results, but Dick's not gonna like it. He's really not gonna like it. And he's just like, okay, well, it can't be that bad. And she says Scarecrow, and he's like, what? What? Scarecrow? I just love this reaction. And I personally don't really like Prodigal Son. I know probably a lot of people watching this like Prodigal Son. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a show. I think it's been cancelled now. But regardless, there was a very similar, and maybe some of you might know where I'm going with this. The father of the main character was a serial killer, and he was also used to help profile some cases in that show as well. Very similar vibes with what's going on with Scarecrow here, with Dick Grayson then going to Arkham, because, you know, with extra hard cases like this, if you've got a guy in Arkham like Scarecrow who's extremely skillful in the arts of the human mind and psychology, you may as well use him if you can. It's also cool to hear that this was actually Bruce's idea, Barbara revealed. But meanwhile, back at Wayne Manor, we have Corey wander into Dick's old room, but technically Jason's room, and there was this another kind of deep dive. This is what I mean about the subtlety of the psychology and character study of Bruce Wayne. We are going to get a lot more of that, rather than just this moment, but little drib drabs here and there as well. For example, there's that contract agreement saying, I, Richard D. Grayson, under no circumstances, not death, nor love, nor loneliness, will ever give comfort to fear. Signed by Bruce Wayne and Dick. The way I see that is, it's kind of like, it's not noble, but it's like, you know, there's agreement between Batman and Robin, or Dick and Bruce, just like, no matter what, under no circumstances, not death, nor love, nor loneliness, will ever give comfort to fear. If anything, you wield the fear and put that into the heart of Gotham's criminals. But then again, look at it under a different light with what I've been saying. Titans have been painting that relationship of Batman and Robin. At the end of the day, being an older man, getting a young kid to take on that philosophy and stuff, put it out in a contract form is quite extreme. But yeah, I like how we're seeing both sides regardless. In this moment, yet again, Starfire's powers engage. This blue energy kind of just engulfs her and sends her in the perspective of someone yet again being carted away. So just like last episode where she woke up at the end in the middle of the street, this is now putting her into another kind of mode where she's almost not herself, and she's just seeing through that perspective of that person being dragged away, because this then cuts to Beast Boy and Superboy, and Beast Boy's freaking out about Batman's actual books, in how he's got like the meditations of Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antonius, but then you have Superboy just using one of Bruce's books as like a plate for his food. I really do feel like Beast Boy and Superboy are perfect. There's a really good chemistry there and dynamic when they're both on screen together. I also love the on-the-nose references, even though I think the characters aren't meant to realize it when Gar says, what were you, raised in the barn? Well, actually, Clark was. But back onto the main point, this is when Corey comes in, kind of ranting in Tamaranian, if you will, and she immediately blasts a Starfire blast at Superboy and Gar, but luckily Superboy uses his breath to prevent that from hurting them. This then led Starfire to call up Justin. I also like there's another line saying, you know, we had a death in the family, obviously the reference to the very storyline that is unfolding right now, and they basically begin to talk about what's going on with Starfire having these episodes. As you may have heard if you've been watching my Titans coverage, it did look as though Justin was being rummaged into this season, and for now it looks like as though he's going to be trying to help Starfire out, at least figure out what's going on with her. But up next, ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about Mother frickin' Vincent Kartheiser playing Jonathan Crane, because we see Grayson arriving at Arkham Asylum. What a beautiful logo, by the way. And the interior of Arkham is so incredibly accurate to what you... This set in of itself should always be Arkham in every adaptation. I don't care. It looks great. And I love how Dr. Crane's first words to Grayson were, weed. It's just like, if you want my help, and you do, then I'm going to need some high quality flower. I'm talking 70-30 sativa. Lemon Lyric is my favorite, but just get me in the ballpark. Anything above 25% THC. So Jonathan Crane is a stoner. I like the kind of logic they give behind that. His mind is so fast, so he kind of likes to slow it down. But also, I just love, like, Vincent Kartheiser really does pull off more of the stoner Jonathan Crane. It's not remotely a surprise with his kind of dabbling in chemistry, fear, toxin. Doesn't remotely surprise me that he likes a good old doobie. But yeah, there's just something about, honestly, you guys haven't seen nothing yet. I know I keep saying that, and I don't mean to deliberately tease anyone in a flexy way. I'm just saying, if you are liking what you are seeing right now, this is nothing. Oh man, this is just the beginning. But I love the conversation. This was all fantastic, because obviously it's quite interesting for Robin, or should I say Nightwing, Dick Grayson, because he's put this guy down before with Batman. But yeah, I don't know what more I can say. Is I love the kind of fascination, confidence, intrigue that Scarecrow pulls off, also while trying to not look too interested. But also then the little pokes at Dick Grayson himself through saying that he knows who he is. is because Barbara saying his name rang a little bell in his head. That little Carney kid that Bruce Wayne took in for PR. You're that Dick Grayson, and how your story's biblical, brother. But then that's when Scarecrow actually pulls out his little card, the one that is what makes him this profiler in the first place, right? Because he says, the bird's opening. And he's like, what? The bird's opening? The bird's opening, one of the oldest known openings in chess. The two are connected, relying on each other. The king moves stealthily in the shadows while the pawns are sent into the teeth of destruction so that he may advance. And that is when everything's put together, and that you see the note is written on the back of a page, torn from a chess manual. It's just his opening move, and then you kind of gather it all together that they're going to try and figure out now through the subliminal messaging there, reading between the lines, that there's a much larger game at play here. And I personally am a sucker for little kind of plots like this, like that Red Hood was trying to, you know, leave something behind for Dick Grayson to catch up on. And for obviously Red Hood, this is kind of a fun game in some sense because the Titans don't know who he is, which just makes all of this a little bit more compelling. So instantly off the back of this, we're back at the Batcave. Dick's trying to run some simulation with the chess moves, looking for all the combinations and how that can pertain to telephone numbers, bank accounts. And basically they put together that it had all the streets in Gotham with bird names. One, you know, obviously being like where Anne lived, Bluebird Way. But all of this gets interrupted by Hank's arrival, and I don't know, there's something about this scene where I find Starfire's reaction just priceless. It's a little bit awkward with Dawn there because she's not too happy in this moment, but Starfire's just trying to temper like the awkward situation by just, you know, being happy that Hank's there. This is where we get a little bit more of a peek into Hawk and Dove's relationship right now, or lack thereof, and how she's just not happy that he showed up without a phone call. Regardless though, they kind of figure out that he's got a Hawk and she's got a Dove in Gotham. They're gonna still work together. And I did really kind of feel bad for Hank Ray said that he couldn't do that in Washington because when they were initially doing it at the end of season 2, in between the 3-month break between then and now, it's just not that simple putting on the Hawk suit and not being together. It kind of sucked for him. And that just made me feel like, oh man, Hank. But obviously, you know, bigger situation calls both of them to now do it in Gotham together. Now up next, we see them scouting all the Gotham City bird streets. Hawk and Dove cleared one street, same with Dick and Corey. And this is when Barbara rings that there is actually a bank robbery in progress, and the hostages are all wearing red hoods. And yet again, talking up the intelligence of this plan by Red Hood, if you will, I was actually surprised when I was watching this. I was like, man, this is quite sophisticated because the Titans go there. Obviously, Barbara's there as commissioner. The GCPD are already outside, and Dick manages to convince Barbara, who kind of wants to take it a different approach, but he manages to convince her that the people inside, they're not criminals, they're parents. They think their children are in danger, so Gara and Connor will try and search for their kids right now. Call your men off and let us go in there and handle it. But lo and behold, we figure out that the people in there who were wearing red hoods, that's exactly what Red Hood wanted Dick to think. Through making it apparent beforehand in Ann Williams from the previous crime, he now thinks that they're all parents. But it's like a switcheroo. It's not like an absolute mastermind of a plan, but I still didn't expect this level of intricacy in what Red Hood was going to do next. And it provided for a very entertaining scene. So the Titans go in, and Dick tries to mediate the situation, saying he doesn't have to do this. We know what's going on and who's forced you into this, and you know, we'll find your kids. Nobody needs to get hurt. And that's when meanwhile Gara and Connor are in like the car park, and they find the kids, but then they find another car with the parents in it, and it's revealed that the people with the red hoods on in the bank weren't parents. And yeah, they throw a little kind of mini pipe bomb or massive flash bomb. I mean, it was a pretty big bomb, to be honest, to blow out the front of the building like that. I'm not gonna lie, if I want to be nitpicky, yeah, that kind of would have caused a lot of damage to the Titans. I mean, if I'm just being realistic, but regardless, this was a setup, obviously. And I feel bad for the Titans because they've earned such a good name for themselves in how they don't really cock up too much in San Francisco. They come to Gotham. It's actually citywide news. The Titans are there. The commissioner just gave them the go-ahead. That's quite embarrassing for Barbara. And now they kind of cocked it up. Red Hood was one step in front of him. And personally, that's a game I'm loving seeing play out on screen right now. Speaking of embarrassment, Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Barbara Gordon, Babs, is not happy. Not happy at all because they walked out with 25 mil, and she says that the Titans practically gave them a police escort. But regardless, he points out whoever this is exactly what they want. Mistrust between them. And this is when she does like a low blow oof move because she says, well, they should have called first. That box was already checked. My God, Dick, what did you do in the past to poor Barbara? How did you betray her trust when you were together? Please don't tell me he left Barbara for Dawn, as in Dove. Please don't tell me you did that, Dick. Please don't do it. Now up next, I believe Hank was eating Crypto's food in the kitchen. Bloody hell, Hank. But the biggest takeaway is I love this scene. I really do. That moment between Hank and Dick Grayson was a proper bro Titans moment. You know, they speak about how whoever's effing with them, they're going down and they're going to be the ones to do it. So chin up, amigo. I just really love Alan Richardson's Hank. I know some people have mixed thoughts on Hawk and Dove, but I really like him. I really do. Like, one of my favorite episodes of Titans, I believe, was season 1, episode 2. There's little bits of hints with how's it going with Barbara. The breakup and work together thing isn't for amateurs, Hank says, but Dick's like, there's nothing going on with us anymore. And he's like, sure. I think it's just important to show moments like this between members of the Titans sometimes, because Dick and Hank go back a long time, and it's just nice to see a bro moment like this. Now we're going back to the Batcave and then figuring out those chess moves. Now this is when Corey and Gar are playing chess, but this is when Gar cracks it. He is trying to figure it out initially, the whole birds opening thing, but he says that the answer is right in front of us, it's hidden in plain sight. Being that the answer is Jason, right in plain sight, but none of them are aware of that, obviously. So he flips the chessboard, and he's just on such a roll. Superboy reads out these various moves in chess. So Hobbs Gambit, meaning Hobbs, and linking to Hobbs in Gotham, the Power Group, which is a place that Batman and Robin shut down for street dealing because they made explosives. And lo and behold, there's a 911 call coming from that building. Now, this gets to the end of the episode now. I also just love, before things get serious, we get a little bit of Titans action again. So we have Beast Boy in Tiger mode. Corey heats up the guy's gun so it burns his hand. Superboy just comes in and the guy just bounces off him as if he ran into a brick wall. And I just love the demeanor. Like, Superboy's like, you know, it's just... I really do feel like they've listened to fans here in terms of actual team-coordinated Titans action. And I absolutely love that next moment between Hank and Dawn, Hawk and Dove. There's only one thing I will say about it, though, just, you know, to be critical here. As cool of a scene as that was, you know, cool is nitpicky, but though if you watch it again, those guys, as cool as it is, playing a joke and punching them and stuff and just holding them there, they weren't doing anything, and realistically in choreography like that, you should have had them trying to struggle and do something, but they were just like waiting there at several moments, just getting punched for, like, they weren't even putting their hands in front of their face, and I can't even put that down to them being disoriented. Like, I'm sorry, that's not really an excuse. As cool as this scene was, those thugs that Hank and Dawn were fighting in that moment before we get to the Red Hood battle between Nightwing and them, they were just letting them punch them. I don't know why. And here we have it, guys. Nightwing's walking around, a smoke grenade pops out of nowhere, and we hear Red Hood's voice. I love the voice modulator for this. And he says, "What took you so long?" One thing I will say is, I don't know if everyone got this. Maybe it was just my copy, like the early screeners, but I did find it at times kind of hard sometimes to make out what Jason was saying in the helmet. I could make out some words very, very, very clearly, but there were a couple of lines where no matter how many times I pressed the 10 seconds back button, I listened to it, I just couldn't understand, like, one particular word he was saying. But I love it when Nightwing's like, "We'll see about that," and he throws out a wingding, so the Nightwing gadgets are indeed coming out. I love how he grabs the Eskrima stick midair and he looks at it, but that's when it kind of disorientates him for it shocking him. And that's when Nightwing comes in, allowing him to get the jump on him, but Red Hood recovers, a full-on little fight unfolds with the knife, but that is when Nightwing smashes the mask, which is, you know, it answers the question of as to why there's a crack in it, so he obviously puts that back together. But the big thing now is, clearly this is when Nightwing's like, Jason. Like, the reveal is here. And I love the choice of words with that reveal as well, with how he says, "Bruce always told me you were better than me with the toys." And he says, "I got a new name now, though. You'll be hearing a lot around here. Red Hood." I thought that was a great way to do it. Dick starts running because Red Hood starts shooting him, as in, like, lethally trying to kill him, and he has no other option but to take cover, and Red Hood uses that opportunity to recover and escape. Now, there are all kinds of things I love about this, by the way, and I wish I could speak about it forever, but you know me, I do like to ramble. But just to keep it simple, I thought the fighting was great. I also like how they acknowledge some of the fans' concerns. I mean, at least if you read between the lines, that very line of Jason saying, "Bruce always told me you were better with the toys than I was," basically. And that's just showing how he's acknowledging that Nightwing was the better person in that fight there. Like, he had the upper hand. He was better with the gadgets than what Jason was in terms of, like, comparing both Robins. Like, evidently Nightwing got the jump there. Like, in terms of people thinking, how is Jason going to stand up against Dick Grayson through what we've seen before? But I like how they addressed that. Like, it's an actual acknowledged thing there. But also, the other elephant in the room is it got revealed in episode 2 at the end. Now, that's not me saying that's a bad thing, but I did write down on my bullet point, as I say, these bullet points were taken as of when I was first seeing it. I didn't expect the reveal this soon. I thought maybe episode 5 or something, but no. So the reason why, if you're wondering why it was this soon, it's just there's no point hiding. Like, in this adaptation, if you're going to do it, I overall agree with doing this reveal this soon, because now the game steps up and the stakes step up a lot more. There's no, oh, you know, faffing around who is the Red Hood and waiting 7 episodes to reveal that. I actually rather have that done now, so we can now get on to the serious stakes. Jason, like Dick Grayson next episode in episode 3, that I'm guessing a lot of you have seen by now, because all 3 episodes dropped at once. I keep forgetting about that. But now you know what happens next episode. Like, shit gets even more real. Can kind of move past that and get into the more dramatic stuff with dealing with the fact that that guy used to be family, and what he's doing is severely messed up. I thought this reveal was great. I thought the way they did it was just this, like, if they were going for anything, like, I don't think they could have really done better than what they did here. It now really just, if you've only just seen these 2 episodes, propels you to really just want to tear open episode 3 and get into that, because my only thought after this was, Nightwing and the Titans now know it's literally Jason Todd. What is happening in episode 3? What the hell is happening in episode 3? Like, how are they going to confront this? What is the next thing that's going to happen between Red Hood now that they know it's Jason? What, like, that's all this episode leaves you off feeling, in my eyes. There we have it. That's my review for episode 2, Red Hood. I hope you enjoyed it. It's hard for me to keep these videos not being long with the... Just this is so up my street that I could talk about every facet of it for freaking ages, but I'm a very happy guy right now, and I feel like I really hope I'm gauging the audience well on these videos before I can even see the comments and saying that I trust that you guys are really liking this. Sure, you might not find every facet perfect, but at least how it's unfolding in these first 2 episodes and up until the second one now in this video, what's there not really to like? Especially when you understand the adaptation aspect of it all. So, leave me your thoughts down in the comments below, guys. Stay tuned for my episode 3 spoiler breakdown tomorrow. Leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment, which is my comment. Click on the show more to expand all of the links so you can talk about this with me in voice chat in my Discord server, on Twitter maybe, where I talk about this even before I make videos about it. But that is everything, guys, so thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Titans in tomorrow's video. Goodbye.